Good evening, America. Episode 12 coming at you, Contra-Dictions. We have one man down for this show, but we're going to try and do what we can with the two-man crew for you since we've been gone for so long. Want to wish all the fathers out there happy Father's Day because we missed you last week. LGBTQ, it's your month. More power to you. Get whatever you need to get done. We're here for you. And let me bring in my colleague that is with us tonight. Glenn, what do you got to say, brother? How you feeling?
What's up, brother? What's going on, guys? Glad to have you all with us here tonight. We've got a lot to, like I always say, sink our teeth into this evening. We've got CHAZ or CHOP, which is what some of the locals are referring to the district as. We got some updates on a few older stories. Ahmaud Arbery, Bill Cosby. Yeah, Bill Cosby back in the news. And then, of course, we got the Trump rally. So a lot to talk about. But yeah, glad to have you guys with us. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Yes, let's start with Ahmaud Arbery. What I've seen on the news lately is that the three individuals that weren't charged initially are now indicted, full indictment. What's that mean? With like 9 charges each, I think is what I heard.
Yeah, so they were indicted on nine charges by a grand jury. So Cobb County District Attorney Joyette Holmes, and by the way, just in case people don't know, it is being the case is being tried in Cobb County due to the fact that Gregory McMichaels, the father of Travis McMichaels, used to be a deputy for the district attorney of Glenn County. There's obviously a conflict of interest there, and due to prior corruption that was noted, they've decided to try the case in Cobb County, which I think is the only right thing to do. So, District Attorney of Cobb County, Joyette Holmes, said that a jury of their peers, the grand jury, has indicted Travis McMichaels as well as Gregory McMichaels and William Roddy Bryant on 9 counts, counts including malice murder, felony murder, as well as criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. So those are pretty serious charges. And just in case anybody doesn't know the law in Georgia, there is no second degree murder available. It's just not an option. You either have manslaughter, which some refer to as third degree murder, but there is the difference between third degree murder and manslaughter, or you have first degree murder. So they're being charged with felony murder, which in Georgia is considered first degree murder, also being charged with malice murder, which is kind of it's first degree murder, but it borders along the lines of a hate crime. So it's I guess it depends on who you ask.
So all three deserved all those charges. They all get the same. There wasn't one that did more than the other. Or...
And that's a good question because obviously Travis McMichael's the one that shot the gun, the son. His father is the one that got everybody all riled up and had him hop in the truck, and then of course he was standing on top of the truck with a handgun. So they definitely, at the very least, he should be charged with attempted murder. But I believe the reason why they're all three being charged, and then of course, just to touch on William Roddy Bryant, he was actually, after having video and audio analysts analyze the videotape that we all saw that shocked the world, he was actually found on tape to be cocking his gun as if to say that if Ahmaud Arbery would have turned around, he would have been there, because they essentially had him boxed in. You had the Bryants right here, you had William Roddy right here, and then you got Ahmaud Arbery running in the middle trying to go around the truck. So
if he got away, then he was going to end it all.
Then he was going to end it all. I mean, why else would you be cocking your gun? Why? And again, I go back to my point. If you're filming something like that, for one, why would you just start filming a guy driving? Unless maybe if it looked like a chase, then you might break out your phone and start filming. But once he is shot, the lack of emotion, in my opinion, I just think is very telling. I mean, I don't know about you, Fred, but if I witness somebody get shot, I'd be like, "Oh shit!"
I mean,
did you see that?
You wouldn't act like it was a normal everyday occurrence. That's for certain. I mean, you would have a little bit of some out of character reaction or something. He seemed like he was ready for it. I don't know, but that's just me.
Exactly. Yeah, he seemed like he was expecting it. So, I couldn't agree more. But yeah, they've been indicted on 9 charges, so they are going to be tried. I do believe they're going to take it to a jury trial, and we'll have to see what happens there. But this is it's an interesting case because one, you do have only one gunman, right? Two, like you pointed out, you got all three being charged with the same thing, even though there was only one gunman. I do believe they are all equally, I don't want to use the word guilty because here in America, the
Supposed to be anyway. You're supposed to be.
all suspects have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. So, but we all saw the tape, and that's the thing. What I do like about this whole thing, and I think that it kind of stacks one on top of the other, like with Ahmaud Arbery, then George Floyd. I mean, we've got Breonna Taylor in there, and I know there's some detail and some gray area with Breonna Taylor. But now more and more things are even starting to come out with Breonna Taylor, but not to go down that rabbit hole. I think you have one thing after the other to where society as a whole is now ready to see police officers being held more accountable. There's being laws changed all across the country. Never before have we seen all 50 states protesting. And it really didn't start with Ahmaud Arbery. That started with George Floyd. But I think in the aftermath of Ahmaud Arbery, that certainly had something to do with it. Just back to back like that. And then on top of the pandemic or the coronavirus pandemic where everybody was actually home to see these things and process it and watch it over and over again. I don't know.
And the news shoving it in your face every day. So, I mean, there's a lot of good coming out, but there is some bad too. I've seen a lot of like people just getting randomly like beat down for no reason, like crazy.
And that's the thing. And I do want to say that the media needs to understand their power and respect their power a lot more than what they've been doing. I mean, I get it. Negative TV sells more than positive TV. I understand it, but they could really show. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on.
I think, look, at the end of the day, when this is all said and done and the changes that are needed are made, we're still going to all have to live here and be one. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yes.
At the end of everything, I agree. We need changes, and we're going to get them. We're going to get them.
Yeah.
But once we do get them, we're going to have to live in harmony again. So why we shouldn't be fighting one another? That's my point. We're all going to live under this flag, whether you like
Absolutely.
it or not. It's our flag, and that's, you know what I mean. Like, I get it. You're allowed to kneel if you want to kneel. We fought for all those Bill of Rights, so that's your prerogative. I don't like it, but if you want to do it, that's your thing. I get it. I wish there was another way for me personally, but that's my opinion. I'm allowed my opinion too. It is America. All I'm saying is at the end of the day, this is us. All right. So everybody else, this is us. Everybody else sees this flag when they think of America. So we need to start thinking of it too and get our faith back into this thing. You know what I mean? Like when I was young, it was all about the red, white, and blue. We had Rocky, you know what I mean? Like red, white, and blue was the thing. So I don't know what it's going to take to get us back there. Maybe we're broken. Hey, but we're not destroyed. You know what I mean? Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Let's get back to here.
Yeah, I agree 100%, even 1,000%. And and I don't think that America as a country is broken. I do think there are some pieces that are still being put together, but I don't think we're broken necessarily. But I do think that change needs to come. I mean, there's several cases where police have just done awful things on camera and haven't been held accountable. So I think now, I mean, we're starting to see it. And this is also what I wanted to say. And because look, at the end of the day, we've got to work together. But what I do like that I'm seeing now is I do like that I'm seeing it's bringing Black people more so together, more so than I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. Black people are coming together. They're calling out racism. Never before have we seen this amount of businesses being shut down based off of race, this amount of police officers being held accountable. One thing I do want to say, though, is that this is a very serious movement and serious times that we're in. So Black people, yes, people that have hate in their heart, people that have racism in their heart, they can't hide it in these times. There's just too much there's too many triggers out there now, right? So one thing we need to not do is we don't need to be trying to provoke white people in any sort of way. And then when they get angst, we're whipping out our cameras and trying to pin them as racist and things like that. That's not what this is about. That's not what's going on here, right? Look, I get it. You don't have to do that. That's not what America's about.
A lot of pent up hate and aggression. It leads to certain things. Understandable. but we got to think about some of the things that we're destroying, right? I mean,
For sure.
Abe Lincoln. I mean, come on, man. I don't know about that one. You know what I mean? There's other statues that I've
Yeah.
heard about. I get. Listen, we need to get rid of some of these statues. It's a different day and age. They don't need to be up and celebrated, but they don't need to be destroyed either. We can move them into a museum somewhere, get them out of here to where if you want to go see them and you want to learn about them, they're in this building over here. You can go check them out on DC Row, Museum Row, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they don't
I
need to
agree with
be
that.
they don't need to be publicized as some like, hey, this bridge was named after this guy because he was so great. I understand the argument
Right.
there, but do it the right way. We can't have lawlessness, man. We can't have people just ripping stuff down. You voted somebody into that office to be your elected official. Make sure they get that thing taken down. And if they don't
Right.
want to take it down, vote them out and put someone in there that will.
There you go. There's a wrong way to go about it, and there's a right way to go about it. I mean, again, we can't have lawlessness, and that just kind of goes back to my point, and it's not just black people; it's Americans, all Americans.
Sure.
We look. There's other countries that are looking at us, so we can't just think in terms of black and white anymore. We got to think in terms of the United States of America, not the divided states of America. Because what actually begins to happen is when other countries are looking at us and they're seeing this lawlessness going on, they pin the entire country as that. They don't just pin a specific person, even though it's a few bad apples or a few isolated incidents in an entire conglomerate of a movement. People aren't separating the isolation.
We're only being shown the bad. There is a bunch of good going on out there. We're just not being shown it. If you want to see that stuff, you got to go on YouTube and search for it, or one of the other outlets. You can't get it from a news outlet,
which is really sad because there's a lot more bad going on than good. For example, protesting hasn't stopped at all. There's still a lot of cities in our country that are protesting right now. They've all been peaceful. But do you notice how conveniently all of a sudden the media isn't showing any of these protests anymore? The media was right on it when there was looting and rioting going on. But now there's peaceful protests, because there's no looting going on right now. There's no peaceful protest.
Oh, they just want to show you they just want to show you the flags burning. They just want to show you the spray painting of monuments and churches. They just want to show all the negative stuff, man. They're stealing the movement is what they're really doing. The news is stealing the movement, and that's what's going to hurt us.
Yep, it's awful. It is. It really is. So shame on you, media. You guys need to do better. You guys have a lot of power. You guys are probably more powerful than the president, realistically. You guys control the narrative. So get it together, man, because there's a lot going on good in this country, and we need to pull together in these times, not be separated and divide. But moving on, so that's just to update on Ahmaud Arbery. We've got Bill Cosby. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of separation, Bill Cosby's great. So I mean, we all know Bill Cosby raised pretty much most of us, our generation anyway. I mean, I don't remember a Wednesday or a Thursday night where you didn't watch the Cosby Show.
Telling you, man.
Yeah, and then Fat Albert. I mean, for us older generation folks, not to be dating myself, but
I'm old, man.
Fat Albert. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, the Jello pudding pups. Bill Cosby was the man. Then all of a sudden, late '90s, early thousands, he's like, wait a minute, whoa, what are you? Hold on, you're tainting Bill Cosby. What's going on here? Now all of a sudden, he's a drug. He just drops drugs in women's drinks and date rapes them, and what? They're all just coming out now. I mean, I'm not saying it did not happen. That is not my say at all. I wasn't there. All right, but that's between them, and you know how it works. One side, and then there's some truth in there somewhere. All right,
Yeah, and so just to get into the sort of nitty gritty of it. So today, Bill Cosby was granted an appeal by the Philadelphia Supreme Court.
Wow.
To have two arguments heard in an attempt to potentially overturn his 2017 conviction in the alleged raping and drugging of Andrea Constad, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. Andrea Constad. There's a lot to bite into with this one. I personally am glad that he was granted his appeal. I do believe that we need to hear his side in a more.
I mean, if there was any kind of doubt, why not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is, look. I've never raped anybody or anything like that.
Right.
So, right. But, you know, in my experience of viewing others, it is not typical for a woman to wait 40 something years to then come forward with these accusations, especially when you're talking about a celebrity. Usually, I mean, we can go back to, I mean, there's all sorts of celebrities that have been accused of stuff. When that stuff happens or allegedly happens, women are like knocking down the doors to try and, you know, get money, get a settlement,
When
get
did
whatever it is
TMZ
they
come
can.
out? Because if TMZ was out back then he would have been caught right away.
Right.
Seriously.
Exactly. Well, and you got to think, Bill Cosby was arguably the most powerful black man outside of Michael Jackson
So
at the
wouldn't,
time.
if something happened, why wouldn't you come out and? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we just gone cynical lately, and back in the '80s, everything was love. But
I just want to say something really quick because I don't know, for those that know me personally and things like that, I used to be really deep into music. I was pursuing that career. I moved to Manhattan in my early 20s. I lived in Manhattan for about 5 years. Had a distribution deal. I met a lot of famous people. I opened up for a lot of famous people. Been in the studio with, you know, from LL Cool J to Fat Joe to, you know, a lot of other hip hop artists and R&B artists. And me personally, I just got to be honest with you. Celebrities in general are not taking the booty, bruh. I mean, like girls are throwing them the booty. Like, if anything, they're trying to get rid of booty. Like they're trying to give the booty away. So it's just, you know, Bill Cosby in his heyday, you know, drugging girls. It's just kind of hard to believe, at least for
I
me.
mean, and then there was like so many too. Like, what did y'all just form a club and then? I mean, I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's
No,
bad.
I mean, look, hey, we're not on
I'm
here.
not.
We're
Like
talking. We're not a
yeah,
politically correct show, you
yeah.
know, and that's not our fan base. That's not what we want. We're not on here to try and be politically
I
correct.
just
You know, we don't want to be disrespectful, but at the same time, it's a
I
little
think it should be
odd.
heard. Yeah, I think it should be heard. Give him one more shot and put the onus on his team to prove his innocence now, so to speak, right?
Well, and his wife, Camille Cosby, I think brought up a really good point today. She came out of silence. She did a public interview for the first time in 6 years. And she said that, and I do kind of like her call out of the Me Too movement and other sort of movements that are similar to that, where she was saying that, you know, people, you know, get their feelings so hyped up and they just completely negate history and the history of white women accusing black men of doing these heinous things without any proof whatsoever, and, you know, black people just, or black men in particular, automatically being convicted of it. And I kind of think of it as like right when Kobe Bryant died, you know, you had Gayle King go on, you know, live TV in her interview with Lisa Leslie and kept probing at Lisa Leslie, even though Lisa Leslie kept saying, no, he didn't do that. I never knew him to be that kind of person. And not only that, but Kobe Bryant was,
That's because misery loves company, man. They love.
it's terrible. Of
Yeah,
all the things she could have talked about, I mean, successful marriage of 20 years, great father to four beautiful
yeah. He
children.
started the girl movement, man. The
Yeah, he
daughter
really
movement
did.
for real.
Yeah, he started the girl dad thing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I mean,
And
he just made it popular, right? Maybe he didn't start it, but he made it really popular.
for sure, absolutely, and
Yeah.
all the great things that he's done. You know, to keep probing at something like that, something that was dismissed.
After he's done been freaking dead for less than 24 hours or something like that.
Hadn't even had his funeral yet. And so what we're actually starting to see here is this is just my opinion. I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of research, but in today's day and age, there is a concerted and incentivized effort to try and pin black men as the sexual predators of the world, to try and make black men the face of sexual assault. And, you know, Gayle King with her $11 million a year salary, you know, they're going to ask her to try to do this because it's much different when it's coming from a black woman as opposed to a white woman or any other race. So there's a concerted and incentivized effort to try and make black men the face of sexual assault. When you have everybody from Matt Lauer to Mick Jagger, I mean, finally Harvey Weinstein was convicted. I mean, Jeff Epstein. I mean, I'll be here all day naming them. I mean, people.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Bloomberg, Trump. I mean, people that have admitted, to doing these things, but just because they have NDAs or non-disclosure agreements, they're not being held accountable. And I just think it's a crock of crap. I mean, really, 82-year-old Bill Cosby. Do you really feel better with your daughters walking around knowing that 82-year-old Bill Cosby is locked up instead of early 50-something-year-old Matt Lauer? Like, it just doesn't really make any sense. Like, you really feel safer with Matt Lauer on the street as opposed to Bill Cosby? So, these are just some things that I think is really interesting. I don't want to say I'm excited, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the appeal is. I'm looking forward to hearing Cosby and his legal team's two arguments, and it will be publicized. And I'm just looking forward to see what all is going to transpire of that. There's a lot going on with that there, and there's been a lot going on with it. And I do hope that. I mean, personally, I don't know if he's guilty or not. I mean, none of us do, and that's not our place to say.
I mean,
but
I
just think
I didn't watch enough of the trial and do enough of the research to have a valid opinion to say one way or the other. I just find it odd, like you, why 40? What is it, 20 some years, 70s to the thousands, 2000s, almost 30 years.
Well, I think the damning thing, the damaging thing was that, and people sort of may be looking at this as an admittance of guilt. Which I get it, but back in 2006, he did Andrea Constant or something like Constant.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thanks,
Andrea
man.
Constant did receive a settlement in the amount of $3.4 million from Bill Cosby back in 2006. And so I think people are looking at that as an admittance of guilt. And I understand that, because it's kind of like Donald Trump and his dad being brought up on charges in 1979 of housing discrimination. And they settled out of court for multi-million dollars. It's an undisclosed amount, but it was multi-million dollars. So typically you wouldn't do that if you weren't.
Or you didn't want that news public. So it was hush money.
There you go. And there you go. So there's more than one reason to things. Like, you don't just pay somebody off all the time because you don't want your guilt to come out. You pay somebody off because you simply just don't want the bad press, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that you're guilty. So, again, there's a lot of I guess nuance, as we always say, to Kenny's favorite word, to go off of there. But we'll have to see if we'll keep you guys abreast of the latest developments.
Yes.
So
let's transition over to Trump, man, our main man right now. He had his pep rally over in Tulsa, and I think he had one just the other night in Phoenix or something like that, right? Didn't he have one just over in Phoenix the other day? But anyway,
one was scheduled. I'm not exactly sure.
So
if he had one.
He had one in Tulsa, and apparently they were expecting this huge crowd, and then all of a sudden they only had a few thousand, right? They were undermanned a little bit, and then he also made a comment about less testing of COVID instead of more testing. Like, what is that about? Like, what do you got on that?
First off, I want to say that Kenny owes me a steak dinner officially because he said nothing about black people. He said nothing about he said nothing about any of the sort of injustice that's going on. Instead, he talked for 9 minutes about his almost slip down the ramp at leaving his speech that he gave to West Point graduates the previous week. He's 9 minutes. You could tell he was kind of embarrassed about that.
Yeah. He did also. He also didn't say stuff about. He said tyrants. He said thugs. He said something else about abolish or something like that. They're destroying the statues. Yeah. So all these like trigger words that we were talking about earlier. Like, I get it. Like, I want to take control of the cities too and shut these people up. Like, listen, we can't do it this way. But that's why I'm not president, because I can't say that stuff. And when you are president, you're not supposed to say that stuff.
Well, and this is the thing. There's just an overall lack of empathy. I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't have to agree with the people. He doesn't have to agree. But the people at least need to feel like they're attempted to be heard and understood. And Trump just does a piss poor job of that.
And maybe he's taking it personal, and maybe he should be. He's the president of the United States. But it seems like he's really taking it like it's like his statue in his like living room. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he's mad. You know what I mean? Like
Well, we all know he's got fickle emotions. He's definitely taking it personal. And just to transition back to the rally specifically, he touted on Twitter that 1 million people RSVP'd. He was expecting a large turnout. Turns out the official number that showed up was 6,228 people. Pretty sad.
I mean,
And it was actually such a shitty turnout that he had to cancel the overflow stage speech that he was planning on giving after the primary speech. So yeah, he wasn't too happy, and there's footage of him stepping off of Air Force One with his tie unbuttoned, kind of looking like a sad puppy dog. He looked defeated. He looked defeated. I honestly kind of felt bad for him. Because
I mean, yeah, I saw that same photo where the tie was hanging down. He was walking to the Air Force One. He looked a little freaking like tired, man. And listen, he's been going at it for a minute though, man. I don't know how a person does it. I mean, that's why he's the president. You know what I mean? But that's part of the job. I get it, but man, they don't stop.
And it's politics, man. Politics is brutal. And I'll be the first to say, the left has really taken hold of this walking down the ramp thing, or his drinking the water with two hands sort of thing, and they've ran with it and they've made it look extra bad. But in reality, I mean, was it really that bad? But then again, you've got the right that's taken Biden, and they've chopped and screwed his interviews.
I mean, they're going at him for not
bumbling idiot.
Right. Saying he's got some degenerative brain issues going on. I mean, Rogan came out and said it on his podcast.
Yes, he did. He did. Did you see, by the way, Fred, or any viewers out there? I don't know if you guys saw the new Biden ad where he calls Trump a whiny bitch at the end of it. It's kind of a funny ad. So, it starts off showing Trump walking down the ramp, all sort of crippled looking. And then they have an older video of Biden from when he was vice president in Obama's era. And he's walking up the ramp. So, you got Trump walking down the ramp, and then all of a sudden you get the music going on, like, bam, 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 bam. And then you see Biden walking up, and he's looking all like he's got pep in his step. And he's like, oh, he's just kind of funny. He's like, he's like walking up the ramp. He's like jogging, trying to look all limber and, like he's got it together. Look, I'll be the first to admit, Biden's got his issues too. He's no spring chicken, but
I mean, it's been so many days since he's had like a full press interview or something like that, right? Like 80 some days. They're just saying they're
it's pushing 90
down.
days. Yeah, it's pushing 90 days. But he did he came on from his house for like 30 seconds and said that he's looking forward to debating Trump. Which I think will be interesting. Everybody will get a clear.
I mean, it'll be a good TV, right?
It'll be good TV. One thing I will say, speaking of TV, I will say in Trump's favor is that his rally did have a decent turnout in numbers as far as people watching it on television. But even in the grand scheme of things, so both Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, he had a combined 12 million views on TV. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, even I watched it, and I can't stand Trump. But I mean, he's entertaining, and I wanted to see for myself.
Well, you gotta know the other side, right? You can't just make a decision because you hate a person, right? You gotta look past it and say, hey, look, can he run the country or not?
There you go. And look, and I don't hate Trump. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I don't hate Trump. At the end of the day, he is the president of the United States, and I want to see him win. Kind of like I said in previous episodes. I don't care who gets the job done. As long as they do a good job and get it done, hey, you'll get my full blessing. He's just done and said so many things. I mean, even in recent interviews, he had the interview with Harris Faulkner, who is the African American correspondent for Fox News, which he had a really good opportunity to do and say some good things, unite the people. He just bombed it. I mean, he just blew it. He tried to discredit the Black Lives Matter movement. He said that half of the protesters don't even know why they're protesting. He said they're just following. They're just a bunch of followers, and that could be the furthest thing.
That goes back to the news, though, right? I mean, he's regurgitating the news in that statement, because basically that's all we're seeing from the news is all the bad. like the BLM is Antifa. You see all this anti-establishment. This is this is what BLM is, and that's not it. We're not seeing the good. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And if it was me or you or somebody else giving the interview, I think it would be a different story. It would be a little more acceptable. But for the president of the United States, he's supposed to have like an inside scoop
Sure.
on things and really know the real deal and know what's going on. I mean, he is the news. He shouldn't be like getting his news from the same sources that everyday people are getting their news from. I mean, I do a little bit more digging than that, as so do you and Kenny. We have to in order to run this podcast, but he should definitely know better than to say people that are protesting are just followers. And he's had several of his African American constituents resign. They've quit after that interview. And I get it, but just to kind of talk about, I mean, he had 12 million views combined from CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. In the grand scheme of things, that is not a lot of views. I mean,
how many people are total in the U.S.? Like 300 million or something?
350 million. Yeah, 350 million. So, 12 million. I mean, I think Obama was averaging like 29 million a speech, something like that, across the board. So just to kind of put it into perspective, John Bolton's interviewed by Martin Raddatz, which aired that Sunday evening on or not on MSNBC, but just NBC, got 6.2 million views alone. America's Got Talent got 8.6 million views alone. So a combined 12 million for the president. First rally coming out of a coronavirus pandemic. Really not that good. And I think it's kind of funny too, because I don't know if you guys heard, the kids on TikTok trolled him and RSVP'd, and that's why he thought he was going to have such a high turnout. He was expecting like 1 million people to come out, and I mean, 6,200 people. Wow.
Yeah,
that's just kind of crazy.
So I speaking of turnout, though, I did see on the other side, I did see the Biden like town hall in like a high school like cafeteria or something, and I don't know if that was a rally or it might have been a town hall, but it looked like there was like chairs, like they were social distancing with no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, for sure. But yeah, that wasn't a rally or anything like that. That wasn't something that was promoted. And, there was like millions of dollars that went into this rally. Like,
I'm sure.
The budget for this rally was crazy to only have a 6,200
yeah, I mean, they spent a lot of money doing all the stuff you had to do because of the COVID restrictions. So,
right.
When not even half of the people show up, you're losing a lot of money there. So, all right, moving on, man. Speaking of Trump, he's come out with that executive order. Anybody that defaces a statue on federal property, you're looking at 10 years minimum. And and the way things are going and the way he sounded, it means 10 years, and you're getting 10 years.
Federal time, you typically serve 80% or 85% anyway. So 8.5 years, bro. That's nothing to sneeze at.
For trying to pull down a statue. I mean, and make sure it's the right one. If you're going to take that chance, you know what I'm saying? If that's the thing. We got comments coming over here from one of our guests over here. Let's see, we got Nikki Nixon. It says BLM is political if you go to make a donation. So yeah, I saw this on Facebook, this exact same thing. So I don't know who the lady was, but she made a video, pretty self-explanatory, saying, hey, if you go here to the BLM website, you hit the donate button, and sure enough, there's a big donate button over in the right-hand corner.
Oh yeah.
You click on that thing, and it takes you to a third-party site that does oversight for a bunch of charities, and then
it's called Blue Act or something.
Blue. I think it is Blue Act to be. So it takes you to that, and then they manage a whole bunch of different charities, but the money from BLM goes to a wide range of Democratic Party individuals and the Democratic Party. It's crazy to me.
It is very crazy to me. Absolutely. So you can actually go on, just like you said, Fred, and you can pull up their expense report. And you can see where a lot of the money's going. And about 95% of this money has gone to the Biden campaign. It went to the Bernie Sanders campaign when he was really campaigning and trying to make the run for the Democratic nominee. It's gone to several other Democratic organizations. Like, I'm talking like 100 to the tune of like $156 million to the Biden campaign, $115 million to the Sanders campaign. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know about you, but when I donate my money to something like Black Lives Matter, I'm under the impression that I'm donating it to a charitable cause. I'm under the
I
impression
mean, that's what you
yeah,
would think, right? You go to their website, you get the little lock and the thing that says this is a secure site, and you're putting your money in this site. I mean, that's kind of like shady to me. Like you're doing a hand switch, you know what I mean? Like
bait and switch, man.
there
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
exactly what it is. Bait and switch. You're making people think that, this is going towards that the money is going towards, black families or, disenfranchised communities,
Something.
to
Yeah.
ghettos, things like that. And it's going to people that already have money. People that Bernie Sanders had a strong grassroots movement.
Yeah, he
And I
was
don't
like
know
third
if
on the list or something like that.
yeah, and I don't know if that's because of the BLM. I don't think it was because of the BLM contributions, because at the time BLM was kind of under the radar. I mean, BLM really didn't just have this resurgence until after George Floyd passed away. So it's definitely a little bit disturbing, and I'm going to dig a little bit more into that.
Yeah.
Because the information that I have, in my opinion, I feel like is very surface. I do want to dig more into that, but from what I know, it is not going toward the charitable cause of black families, black communities, that sort of thing. It's been going mostly to the Democratic Party, and I think that's a crock of shit. I'm just going to say it like it is. That's not right.
Not
I
at all.
don't think that's right.
If it's real honest, like if those figures are right, the figures I saw was just like goodness gracious, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they have like you can switch
Yeah.
the fiscal year too. It goes back to like 2014, 2013. So you can
Yeah.
switch the years and see who made the money win. It's like crazy.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and it's sad, and it doesn't look good. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, it doesn't look good for black people. I mean, people are donating to a cause that's supposed to be helping blacks, and then the money's not going where people think it's supposed to be going. So, I could be wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, but the research that I've done and the expense reports that I've looked at, I mean, and it says it clear as day. So I know I'm not wrong with that. But I would maybe like to get a spokesperson for the BLM movement maybe on the show and question them and see exactly what's going on there. That's the thing. Nobody's come out and said anything. Nobody's really disputed anything, and it's starting to go viral on the internet that funds being donated to BLM are not going to where people think that they're going.
So as far as the CHAZ and the CHOP, let's review what's been going on of late, right? So Seattle started off where people came in, took over a couple city blocks, 4 to 6 blocks. It's disputable, but a lot of territory. Small businesses are in there, right?
Yep.
These people took it over, wouldn't allow these small businesses to open, even though around the areas, maybe some of those other small businesses were opening. So a lot of people out of work. But okay, so the Seattle governor said, "Hey, city of love, let's let them have at it. No hurt. Let's let it go. They're not hurting anybody. All right, everybody, free love." So the experiment went on. First week, not so bad, right? First weekend, not so bad, and then it started deteriorating there every other night, right? I
Yep.
think we had altercations in there that I know of where a young man, I think 19, lost his life, and they were pleading for the cops and the paramedics to come in and help this young man. Well, the videos I saw, the cops tried to go in there, and the paramedics aren't allowed in without a police escort. But when the police went in there, they were forced back out. So, I mean, do you want help or do you not want help? And then you can't cry after the fact when you don't allow them to in the help. I wasn't there, but from the videos I did see, it did look like the cops did make an attempt to go in.
CHAZ. Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. You guys had a real opportunity here. You had a real opportunity to be an example, and you technically still have that opportunity. But of course, a couple days ago on June 22nd, Mayor Jenny Durkin, the Seattle mayor, she did announce that the police would be returning, which I think was inevitable. She didn't say exactly when they would be returning, but she did announce that they would be making their return. So the CHAZ district, so we've had 4 people shot in or near CHAZ or what the locals are calling CHOP. And the mayor has called for protesters to leave the CHAZ district by 8 p.m. Due to these shootings, and people are not leaving. So now it's starting more and more to turn into a lawless sort of society. At least that's what it seems like. And look, once violence begins to ensue in an area, got a totally different narrative. If there wouldn't have been any violence, you guys could have worked out your little squabbles and differences, however you would have worked them out, and it would have been fine. Once you get people start beginning to be shot, and 4 people shot in 1 week is you got some major cities that don't even have 4 people shot in 1 week. So it doesn't look good. And I would almost venture to say at this point that this is probably going to be shut down within the next month. I know Trump has called for a few things, and now we do have Mayor Jenny Durkin beginning to step in. Haven't heard much from the governor.
They did try to start one in D.C. too, the BAZ, right? The BHAZ.
Yeah, try to start one in D.C. and then also in Atlanta in the aftermath of 21 police officers not showing up for their shift and police not being able to respond to calls and things like that. So that's really still sort of going on in Atlanta, and I think Atlanta has a real opportunity here. To show that, hey, you can police your own. And I say that loosely. I don't want another Ahmaud Arbery situation. But when I say police your own, because it's been done in cities like New York, where the residents have helped to keep the community safe. And the city of New York actually pays those residents. They call it risk management, or they have a risk management fund. The same thing could happen in Atlanta. Show the city that you don't need police officers. Show the city that you're a civilized and safe community to be in. You do have an opportunity. Odds are against you again, just like I said in the beginning with this whole CHAZ thing. And now we're starting to see this all transpire just as we predicted, which is unfortunate because I was really rooting for you guys.
I mean, people suck, dude. That's the bottom line, man. You get us in a group and don't know one another, it just turns bad for whatever reason, man.
People suck, and then you got especially when you add alcohol into the mix or whatever else
and it's always the 10%, right? We always said it since the beginning of the show. It's always that 10% ruin everything for everybody.
Always.
Yeah,
that's it, man. It's sad. So hey, citizens of Seattle, get the hell out of the CHAZ district at 8:00. Act like you got some sense.
I mean, no one wants to see anybody get hurt.
That's the thing. And then those residents that live in or right around CHAZ that, if you talk to the residents, as of literally 2 days ago, they're saying, hey, it was kind of a nuisance in the beginning that they begin to really sort of like and adapt to that sort of lifestyle. And it was cool. I did hear some opposing residents say that, yes, they do like the CHAZ district, but they believe that it's sort of deterring from the Black Lives Matter movement with all of the tourists and things like that are beginning to show up.
We saw it was crazy to watch it here in DC live on the, whatever news network you can watch it on, but just watching people come downtown and then I'll tell you what, those police came out quick.
Yeah, they weren't playing. Yeah. Did you guys see that? Yeah, they came out.
They're over like 100. I saw at least over 100. Dude, there was a lot. There was a lot.
Looked like the military, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's some people, that's why they're calling for the defund, because what are you policing at that point if you're in that kind of gear? But in this situation, maybe it calls for it. So go into our comments. Let's see what else we got going on here. All right, we got one right here. Lauren Phillips. When I looked at it, I thought hopefully, it was just showing where the money donated to Blue Act directly. I thought their involvement with the BLM was to help host their donation page, and that's it. So she's hoping that that's the real reason, and that could be it. We're going to research it, Lauren. All right.
Yeah, because Blue Act is a political. They're like a political organization that sort of takes these donations or takes these monetary donations and. They divvy them mostly to the Democratic Party, hence the name Blue Act. But I'm kind of on the same page as our guest Lauren Phillips was saying. She's saying that maybe we're just looking at the expense report for Blue Act and not specifically Black Lives Matter. Because Blue Act is handling all the funds of Black Lives Matter. So that could make sense. And that would be, that's a possibility. It's a possibility. And that would be great if that's what was going on. But I think by this point, the Black Lives Matter movement should have had a spokesperson or should have had somebody that came out and said, hey, that's not what's going on. This is where the money's going to. This is where this is going to, and just sort of
That
dispel
could have
all of
helped.
that.
That could have helped.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know for a fact there's tons of people right now that are not donating to Black Lives Matter that otherwise would be based
Which is a
on what it looks
shame,
like.
right?
Yeah, which is sad. Which is
Right,
sad.
right. So
Me included.
so our next comment comes from Brian Plummer. He is a firefighter, and he's basically saying what we were saying. Hey, the paramedics couldn't go in; they're told to stage, sit back, and wait for the area to be cleared. And he says it clearly sucks. He wants
Yeah.
to go in and help. That's what him or his colleagues were trained to do, but they can't go in there without knowing it's safe. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, they can't risk their lives. I mean, look, these
hey,
guys are first responders. We got to respect them. They got families too, man. And
yeah, I saw a comment on Facebook the other day. It was like, dude, I would have rushed in there. I'm like, yeah, 19-year-old you, maybe you would have rushed in there. But
potentially
30,
got shot.
yeah, 35 to 45-year-old you with a family of 4 or 5 mouths to feed, you ain't going nowhere, Jack. You're sitting in that truck till it's cleared.
Right. Period.
Right.
Period. And so Brian Plummer, spot on, man. And it's sad. It really is because 19-year-old lost his life due to the lapse in time. I'm sure if he would have been helped sooner, he probably would still be breathing today. He'd probably still be living today. But so you got somebody bleeding out, in excess of 5-10 minutes. They're waiting for the area to be cleared, and people just acting like they don't have any sort of sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it again. I was rooting for CHAZ. I was rooting for this district. I thought that they had an opportunity to be the example, and now it's just really starting to turn ugly. So as much as I hate to admit it, that damn Kenny was right.
Okay, so last comment of the evening from Nikki Nixon. We got how do you guys feel about the shooting spree in Chicago the past weekend? Father's Day weekend, and people lost their kids. Yeah, I think the youngest they said was 3 or 4 that was shot.
Yeah, I believe 14 people died over that weekend.
100
Absolutely
people or something
awful.
like that. Yeah.
It was awful. I mean, it's just awful. I mean, just completely ugly. And what it does is it makes a certain demographic just look like their entire society or even culture is lawless and has no
You don't think
respect or
that was
regard for
planned
human
out
life.
either? Like, I mean, you don't think the
And
news is
that's and
planning? You know what I mean? Like, this is just like a chess game, dude. It's like they're like doing it perfect move by move, man.
Well, and that's kind of the argument that I had too, even in regards to CHAZ, as well as Chicago, but Chicago not so much as CHAZ. These could be incidents where people have infiltrated and are trying to make the CHAZ district look like something that it's not. Because again, the residents aren't really coming out and saying that it's awful. I can guarantee you, if 4 people are being shot in a week, if that really happened like right outside of your apartment or something like that, you'd be like, whoa, we need some law and order here. This can't go on like that. This can't continue. The residents aren't really coming out and saying that. So even in terms of Chicago, yeah, Fred, I think you may have a point there. And then of course, the media is going to be all over that.
Right, of
They're not
course.
going to
Let's
be over.
show let's show them let's show them how crazy they are in Chicago. That's coming to a city near you.
And we already know Chicago's got one of the highest murder rates in the country, even pre-George Floyd. So to show Chicago is not really saying much. I mean, it's not saying anything that we didn't know already. And it's sad to answer your question, Nikki.
Yeah, I
A
mean,
lot of deaths have happened in Chicago over nothing. Like these people are fighting and
and
shooting each
and
other.
not, and I don't think the numbers are. So I think the numbers are being skewed a little bit to say, hey, look, to play the narrative. The cops
Yes.
are backing down. So there's more murders, there's more shootings. I don't know if that's true or not. It could have a little correlation with it, but I don't think it's just because of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chicago is known. It's violent there.
Yeah.
It's not a pretty place. I mean, there's beautiful parts of Chicago, but the part that they're talking about, like the inner city, South Side, Chicago, yeah, it's not any place you would want to be strolling through in the middle of the night. Or you would never take your family for a walk in South Side Chicago. And it is. It's just sad. But again, the media definitely playing that one up in a place of their tune because once again, negative media sells and gets high ratings way more so than positive media. So it is what it is there.
All right, so let's wrap things up, man. I'm gonna give you the stage. You go ahead and take it over for us real quick.
All right, brother. Well, again, thanks everybody for being with us tonight. We do apologize for the delay in our showings, but hopefully everybody got a chance to get caught up on previous episodes. Those that weren't able to see some of our first episodes. Also, want to say thank you all, to all the viewers. Episode 10 has reached almost 10,000 views, which for us is a huge milestone, and certainly want to thank you guys there. And we appreciate you all being with us tonight. I do want to send a quick shout out to my counterpart and colleague Kenny, who's been a little under the weather, which is why we've had the delay in the showing. So if you guys, if you guys feel up to it, drop him some words of positivity in the comments. Wish him well. I'm sure he would really appreciate that. We're looking forward to getting him back on board so we can get some real tough debating going on here. But yeah. CHAZ district, you guys had an opportunity, and we don't really know all of the details yet. I'm sure they're going to come out, but at the end of the day, you got to respect your mayor. If the mayor is calling for you all to be out of the zone by 8 p.m., get out of there. Just respect it. The police are going to be back, which was inevitable. We knew they weren't going to be gone forever, but we just don't know when they're going to be back. But when they do come back, you know, show them some respect, and hopefully they'll show you some respect. One thing that I can say is that never before have we seen police officers being held accountable the way that they're being held accountable now after the death of George Floyd. I mean, we've seen more officers be fired. We've seen more officers be brought up on murder charges. And it doesn't even stop at the police officers. I mean, we're talking business owners. Businesses have shut down based on their racist comments. Regular civilians have been fired from their jobs based on their racist comments. So people are being held accountable for their hatred and bigotry. And so, police officers, make sure you're respecting the citizens. Citizens, make sure you're respecting the police officers. Ahmaud Arbery, glad to see the three gentlemen accused of murder all be indicted. I do believe all three of them deserve to be charged because I think that they all three were in cahoots, and they all three were certainly armed. So we'll see what happens there. Bill Cosby, I'm really I'm anxious. I don't want to say looking forward, but I'm anxious to see what's going to transpire there. He was again granted by Philadelphia Supreme Court his appeal, and the Trump rally. Trump has another rally coming up August 27th in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm almost certain he's not going to be touting any numbers or expectancies until the rally shows. Until that day, so that he kind of doesn't look like an ass and fall flat on his face when it's like literally a fraction of what he was expecting. So again, and then also too, John Bolton has a really good book that's coming out now, and Trump is trying to force the Supreme Court to not release the book until after the election, which is obviously a violation of our rights. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole in the closing statements, but again, continue to shoot us your messages, comments, suggestions, and I'd love to answer them behind the scenes. And we will be back Friday night.
All right, Glenn, man, appreciate it. All right, guys. So, like Glenn was saying, that was a great recap. He gave you all the insights, everything we covered tonight. Like he said, our colleague Kenny's under the weather. He is getting better. Hopefully, he's back by Friday. If not, definitely by Monday. Like I said earlier, this is still our country, right? At the end of the day, we're going to change this thing together. We're going to make it a better place to live. We're going to do it together. All right. So I get everybody is high on emotions, but once all this is all said and done, we're all going to have to live here together and love one another again. And it starts here. All right. That right there is us. Everyone outside of these great United States sees this as us. All right. Let's start loving that again. Loving thy neighbor, loving thyself, all that good stuff. All right. Let's bring it back. All right. Let's get that love. And that's how we're going to end it tonight. Again, we'll be back on Friday, like Glenn said. We love you, America. Stay safe. Keep washing your hands.